So again, to recap where we stand at this time, we've gone through some of the basics of selecting the college, both in the United States or outside the United States, how the application process works, what to pay attention to when you are preparing your application in terms of what documents are required, what university acceptance rates are, and all kinds of other statistics that you need to look at when you're deciding if it's a good college for you or a bad college for you, if you have a good chance or not, if it should be in your reach, safety, or backup, what is target reach or safety list. I know Maxim has been playing a little bit with these things, and they do take more time than expected. So once you go through all of the details, do they use Common App? Do they use early decision, early action? What documents they require? What kind of essay questions they ask? So it's quite a lengthy process. And I don't know about you, but I know with Maxim, we've been on and off with all kinds of schools, adding some to the list and then dropping them. So quite a laborious process. Then we also talked about some of the documents that you would need to prepare, such as, for example, the recommendation letters. Last time we talked about what's needed for the recommendation letter to request it. So what a good recommendation letter looks like, who should be writing the recommendation letters, how you should ask for one, all kinds of things related to that issue. One of the big topics, if you missed it, or big issues, was that you need to decide who will be writing your recommendation letter, specific professors, and perhaps strategically start sort of making those choices and cultivating the relationships. Again, I'm spending more time with Maxim, and it turns out it's not such an easy task. So due to COVID, the last few years, almost 2 years now, he hasn't had much contact with the professors directly. So he doesn't have professors who know him well enough to provide a good, informative, detailed recommendation letter. So he did identify a few professors whose courses he's taken this semester. And so the plan is to literally approach those professors early, ask for the recommendation letters in advance, say that he will be approaching them sometime later, hoping that that will prompt the professors to pay more attention to him, literally move to the first row in the class. So he was sitting in the last row. Now he wants to be a little bit more visible, stay after class for a few minutes, ask some good questions, maybe volunteer at the professor's lab. Because yes, at this time, at least in Maxim's case, there are no immediate sort of, like, oh, this professor definitely is a good professor. He knows me well, he will write the good things. I don't know, maybe you have a better situation, but it's kind of strange situation with Maxim. While there are many professors, when it comes to, perfect recommendation or referees, as we call them, the list is a little tricky. We also talked about the resume. Again, it's a very difficult sort of, task to create one. So it's not enough just to list what you have. It must be listed in a specific form and order. And then also importantly, it's still not too late to add something to that list. So we talked about possible items that you can still do to strengthen your resume. And apparently we'll talk more about it today. So it's not only the document itself, but it's also what's in it. And again, you have a lot of control over what can be on that document, especially when it comes to your extracurricular activities, clubs, businesses, organizations, sports teams, interests, hobbies, whatnot. So I'm going to turn over the microphone to our esteemed professors here and ask them to share some more of their experience. And then if we have time, we may have quick one-on-one meetings with the students present here to kind of get a better sense of where you stand and what kind of help you may need. Again, the goal here is not to criticize you if you are too slow and if you haven't done what you're supposed to be doing so far, but rather get a better sense of where you stand and then figure out what needs to be done so that you can get sort of up to speed and back on track and have your stuff ready on time. So professors, please share with us your wisdom, experience, and knowledge.
All right.
Hi, will you go first, Amit, or how do you want to do it?
You can go ahead.
I just, once again, very good morning. I just pulled up Ariman's resume just to see what about extracurricular activities he has done, because our topic for today's session is extracurriculars, and we're looking at all kinds of extracurricular activities, not just sports, but it could be anything related to your after school activities. It could be a club that you have been participating in. It could be a robotics club, math club, archery club, people do all kinds of great stuff after school, right? And somehow you don't document them. But from a resume perspective, and even for applying for colleges, I think it's very needed that you document everything that you're doing at school. Sometimes you never know what clicks. You might be a part of the Rookery Club, and your newsletter happens to be the best newsletter, or you've done some great work, right? So all of those things really matter. So let me just quickly share my screen, and I'll just show you what Armin did. And again, I think I can't do the screen sharing as it says
It
disabled.
should be working now.
Okay. All right. Okay, yeah, so here I am. So these were Armin's extracurricular activities, right? Remember initially at one point in time when we talked about the resume writing, I specifically said not more than 2 pages. So this is his second page. And of course, he's talking about his programming club. And then, there were a challenge that he did in the District of Columbia region. Then there was a math club where he held the 3rd and the 2nd place at different points in the competition. Violin, he played violin. So obviously he was a part of the school orchestra. And then he played tennis, and he was a part of the junior varsity tennis team. And then Science Olympiad, where he was placed 10th overall in the country. And this was a regional competition. So the things like this, now, normally people don't realize that, okay, you're a part of the programming club or you're a part of the math team, way to put it. So obviously these are all in terms of extracurricular activities, right? So you did something extra over and above your school work, and that becomes your extracurricular activity, right? You're playing violin, so that shows that you're a well-rounded person, right? You're not just into sports, you're not just into academics, but you're into something more creative, something where the college people, again, from a program person, if you're applying for a college admissions, for the admissions officer, if he or she looks at this, then obviously this gives them a sort of an idea that you're pretty well-rounded in the things that you have been doing. So please remember, extracurriculars is about sports. It's about your after academics. And it's also about your any extra time activity that you might be doing, and you might not even be putting it in your resume. So do that, everything counts. I know I had a student who was a great sketcher. So he used to do a sketching, but obviously he was applying for engineering and not for an art thing. But I told him to write that as a part of his extracurricular activities because you don't know what clicks, right? And eventually he's gone into a good school, and that people did ask him. So at the time of the interview stage, he was asked the questions about, he wrote about sketching, so what do you do in sketching, how is it connected to the field of your study? And that's something where you're providing meat to your to the interviewer, and that stage will happen soon, by the way, where they will be asking you questions. Now, the interview process, I know the way it works is basically once you submit your application, someone will be nominated by the school or by the university to interview you. Obviously, people in the US, you get interviews more frequently, but people outside US, international applicants, will also be interviewed because now everything has moved to Zoom or to WebEx or to other video conferencing things. So don't discount the interview part because you will be interviewed irrespective of whether you're a national or international applicant. So these are the things I just wanted to quickly show this to you guys because this is really, really important. And of course, your skills, like in his case, he knows languages and he was applying for computational linguistics. So that's a mix of computer science and linguistics. So he's actually right now doing double major in computer science and linguistics at Georgetown. So obviously he wanted to show that love for his languages, and he has known so many of them. Of course, in terms of programming languages, what all he has done, and then the basic Microsoft Office, which you all should be knowing anyways. So, and I'm sure you guys might be knowing much more than this, right? So I'm just showing you the basic skills that he wrote. You might be having much better skills. So please make sure that you talk about it in your application. So extracurriculars, I think, is the most easy part, but it's just the part where you have to be more creative and make sure that you're talking about everything that you have done in your after school activity, not within school, but after school hours. So it could be a club, it could be a competition, it could be something very mundane, it could be something where you're passing your leisure time. So what do you do in leisure? Maybe you do a sport, maybe you row, or maybe you're swimming, right? All of those things are needed. And you don't have to be a champion in those activities. Even if you've not participated in a competition, it doesn't matter. As far as you're doing it, you can write it as a part of your extracurricular activity. Amit, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, so let's go back a little bit, right? Why are these extracurricular activities important? So number one reason, if you remember at the very beginning of the session when we started off, we started talking about holistic, right? So colleges are looking for that holistic thing in your application. And your extracurriculars, that's a part of that holistic assessment, right? So you've got your SAT scores, you've got your academics, your GPA, everything is listed over there. That's like the minimum requirement, right? But then what's going to differentiate from others is, one of the things is your extracurriculars, right? Again, don't focus on the quantity, focus on the quality of your extracurriculars. What I would suggest is make a list of all the extracurriculars that you have been doing in your high school. Like it could be a small little thing, it could be a very important thing. Make a list of everything and then sort it as per the importance, right? Some of the things that really stand out I just made a small list. So, the most important extracurricular that you can list in your application is your leadership positions, right? If you have been a founding member of some club, if you've held some, you're the president of a club or a vice president or something, that leadership position, that should be your first one that should go in your application, right? For example, Dr. Anshura, she was showing you the resume of Arman. So I know we tweaked it. He talked about the math club and everything, but one thing that he forgot was that he was the founding president of the club at his school. Now they had a math club, but probably, it just died down for the last 5-6 years. There was no math club in the school. So he got very interested and he said, no, we should have a maths club. And he got hold of some of his friends, like 5 or 6 of them. And then they approached a teacher, got some funding, and this revived that club, right? So we told him that, it's not just sufficient just to put that you are a part of the math team and you won such and such things. You have to exemplify that you were the founding member of this club at your school, founding president, and the founding director and the president of that school. So that's the leadership position that's going to matter, right? Merely listing that you are a part of this and you played at some sporting event, no, you have to give some more details. I mean, what was your contribution? You were not just a team member, but you contributed in some leadership position, right? So that's very, very important. Leadership positions, any internships. It could be a paid internship, it could be an unpaid internship. But then again, this is what you are doing outside of your school, right? So any internship, any work experience that you have, which you think is relevant, you must put it over there, right? I know some kids, they come up with a small business, right? So they are making some 3D trinkets or something and they sell it online, right? So make sure you do that. That's like a sort of your work experience, right? So any work experience, any internship opportunities that you've had, make sure that should go over there. Starting with the leadership positions, then the internships and work experience, that should be very much there. Then comes your athletic participations. Maybe you're in the tennis team. If you are not in any athletic team, make sure you make some concerted effort to get into something, right? Because colleges, they are looking not just for academic stuff, they are looking again, that holistic thing, that's so very subjective, right? So you need to check like most of the boxes over there. It could be some leadership positions, it could be some academic teams and clubs, it could be your athletic participation. So my suggestion is make a list of everything that you've done in the past, right? It could be a small little thing, it could be a big thing that you're really proud of. It could be that you were there in some club, but you didn't do anything. Maybe you didn't even attend any meetings, but make sure you just put it in the list. And then you can sort it by the importance. Like this is the best one that I really like. So this should go number 1, right? And number 2, and then so on and so forth. So that list is very, very important.
Amit, you have a question right here. So it's talking about, should you limit the extracurricular activities to just stronger ones like leadership roles, or also include smaller topics, help, or just complicate the list?
Okay, great. So focus on the quality and less on quantity, right? So you may have like 15 of them listed over there. The people in the admissions office, probably they'll just look at the first 5, 6, 7, and then they'll say, oh, okay, blah, 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 right? So don't have a long list of 15 things or 10 things. Focus on maybe the top 5 or 6, which are really important and which you think that you've done a really good job and you can really exemplify on them, right? And you can make them stronger. So focus on that, right? I know in the Common App, probably there is a space for filling out probably 10 of them or something, right? But you don't, I mean, if you want to do it, fine, but you don't have to like list all those boxes, right? So again, focus on the quality, less on quantity. But then if you really don't have any quality, I mean, you were not in any leadership position, you were not in any president role or something, or a vice president role in something, then probably you can try to make it like a longer list or something. But then if you've had some achievements, if you've made some contributions, then definitely they should be on the top and focus more on that.
Professors, can I maybe share, as you were talking, so I was trying to create a list and I added a few items of my own. Can I maybe share that list and first get your input, but also in addition, I shared the link to the file, and then maybe you can all sort of help me co-edit it during the meeting now, but then also moving forward if you want to edit later. Can you see this Word file that I created? Yeah. So that's based on what you just were saying, plus some of my own ideas. So at school, you have a bunch of options. I really personally like the idea to start a club, even if there will be only 3 people in that club, you can be the founding president. And so some of the ideas that came to my mind that sound sort of intellectual and cool, and at the same time are relatively easy to do, is you can start a chess club, for example. You can start a debate club. So you can start maybe a business club or international business club, or maybe CEO club, or you can even start an X-Culture club. And so it would be relatively easy to do. You can also organize a conference, whatever the topic might be. You can invite a guest speaker, or you can organize a debate. And here it could be debate among the students, whatever the hot topic is in your school. It could be something school related, maybe something about politics, maybe something about environment, or maybe even something, I don't know, religion or NLO, unidentified, objects and things like that. So I'm not sure any other ideas for this section. What else?
Well, you know what, Vas, I've seen students starting a cheese club as well. So they tried different cheeses at the time of the cheese club. And that's also sort of a fun activity, but at the same time, something different.
So what is a cheese club like fun activities?
Cheese, they tried different cheese, like a French cheese, Swiss cheese.
Did I so that's interesting. So that's an interesting idea, because in this case here, that's even easier to do and it's fun. You can probably doesn't have to do something intellectual. I imagine now you can also
no, and that's what the college, the college counselors or the admissions officers, they're looking at what kind of fun activities you guys are doing.
That's actually a very interesting idea. And so
it could be a flight club. It could be something that you want to do for the first time, and all people like 3-5 of you are like looking at doing that. So anything. It could be a rowing club. It could be a swimming club. It could be just a walking
book reading club or something.
Book reading. Yeah.
Oh yeah, actually a reading club is a very easy one to do, and so that's again easy to get the students and everything. So that's a very, very good one.
Yeah.
So conference may be still not too late to organize. Again, it could be one of the topics, I suppose, that is hot at your school. Like for example, the new clothing mandate. What you can and cannot wear to the school. So organize a conference. It could be something related to maybe more like the city issues wherever you are. It could be something related to business, something related to environment, to technology. I suppose there are all kinds of things. Or just invite a guest speaker, put the ads up, even if only 5 people show up for that meeting. So if it's an interest in, like local entrepreneur or maybe politician, like literally, if I were you, I would walk into the mayor's office and say, hey, Mr. Mayor, would you come and speak to my classmates about whatever, the topic is? So chances are you may actually get them. It's, not every day that students come and talk to them. So who knows? Now, volunteers. So you mentioned a couple of things. It seems like some are obvious options, and maybe I missed a few things. Like you can volunteer at a science lab at a local university. So even if you just wash the, measuring flasks and beakers, you can still, you're a volunteer at the lab, or clean the lenses or whatever they need. But also maybe there are some companies that do research, like industrial companies. maybe you can volunteer at their labs. They probably will have stricter access, but again, maybe your parents know someone who works like for an engineering company or something. So it might be an issue. A political campaign, if you have some election going on right now, like I know there is one in California, so we don't have one in North Carolina, but they always need people who need to put up some posters. And so you can then say that I volunteered for the political campaign of this candidate. And, these were the issues that we were trying to promote. Sort of looks good. And I know some universities really like political activities. So, and we put here also internships. If it's unpaid, it's almost like volunteering. But again, that's something that you might be willing. And again, at this time, you're not after money. So you don't need to be paid. You just do a few hours to get to know their business. But if you get into an interesting company, that looks good on the resume. Anything else we can put on the volunteering side?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll just give you some examples. So I know one of the students in Artemis School, he loved computers. So he worked with the computer lab, and he actually transformed a lot of computers in terms of putting the, cleaning them up, putting the new software, doing the desktop thing or whatever. So the person, the CIO, I think, of the school was so happy with him that he really recommended him in a very strong way for his college application. So that could be one of the things that if you love computers and if you have volunteered your time for an IT lab or something, you can talk about that. An easier way. I mean, I know a lot of you, if especially international applicants who are not thinking too much about extracurricular activities, they're more focused on academics. One of the ways to quickly earn an extracurricular activity is to volunteer your time at the library. So
yeah.
Local library.
Local library.
Yeah, I mean, just transform it. And you're doing some good to the society. So it doesn't matter whether you get selected in the school of your choice or not, but there's a mental satisfaction that you did something good, even if it means cleaning the shelves, putting the new books in there, helping the library, just talking to the kids about the books that they read. So all of those good things can be a part of your volunteer activities.
Yeah, and volunteering at the library, it's an easy thing to do.
Yeah, very easy.
Volunteers, they're looking for students. So if you just approach your local library, I mean, chances are 99% of the time you'll get accepted and say, yes, you can come over here between this and this time, or you can choose your own time and just help out the library. They are always short of staff and they're always looking for people, and they'll give you a certificate or something that you volunteered your time. So that's one of the things to do.
It just occurred to me that I've seen people also volunteer at the zoo, at the Science Center, museums.
Yep.
Yeah, our
so in
good friend
DC, there's a lot
Professor
of
Rich Griffiths, he always volunteers. They have a zoo with primates, and so he always basically cleans the cages. But that's primate research. Presumably.
Yeah, absolutely,
and then
there are something unrelated.
Hmm?
I mean, please make sure that you don't have to relate it to the area of your study. It has to be something which is not related to the area of your study. It can be mundane, it can be normal stuff, but it has to be something that's connected to the community. I mean, if you do something good for the community, it will definitely count for your college application. So things like science lab, research lab, remember 100% of the candidates will be doing it. But if you did something in the zoo or at the science center or at the library, these are things that not many people will be doing. So those things do count. Yes, cleaning of the park. I was about to talk about that.
So I mean, I'm not sure if you can find a place in your area, but there are often, some, especially at the end of the summer, after people have been picnicking for the whole summer, you would have a lot of trash there. And so just get a few friends, collect garbage bags full of, roadsides, collect garbage bags full of garbage, maybe post that on social media. But before that, maybe, try to advertise it through the local, I don't know, here it would be like the next door neighborhood, mailing list, maybe even put an ad in the local newspaper. Usually it's very cheap to do. And for something like this, probably they will put it for free. And so there will be quite a few people volunteering and, joining you. So.
Yeah. And even in your local neighborhood, definitely there'll be some societies over there. They are always looking for, it's all volunteer work, and they would love to have, some younger people do some helping out for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's again, especially in some countries, I know that's a big deal. I know in my native Ukraine, many of these places where people like recreational areas often, full of garbage. And so people will volunteer. People love to do that stuff. As long as you kind of issue the call, you'll have a lot of people to do that, or maybe beaches or something like that, right?
And the other thing that you can do is you can organize a run or maybe a walk for supporting cancer patients, for doing something for the children's hospital. If not, it's just an activity. I remember so in DC, the way we have is some of the zones or some of the areas in DC are not that well organized as compared to others. So I know one of our students, she did something like a walk for the society for her area, getting to have the people and even the mayor involved, just bringing out issues in the society to the mayor. So you can do things like that and definitely counts in your application. Remember, please remember, the key thing here is it's good to connect to research and the lab or whatever you have done, but these are still academic. From a perspective of an admissions officer, he or she is looking at something which is non-academic, something that's not connected to the area of your study, but yet you made an impact. So that's where you have to think more creatively. Okay, what can I do which makes an impact for my community, for my society, and for the people around me? So how have I bettered their lives? And so, think more. Library is a very good place to start and to begin with, especially if you're thinking where to go from here. The library, organizing a run, doing something for the society, cleaning up the park, all of these small things, but they count a lot. But then cleaning should not happen just one time. So make sure that if you're doing the cleaning of the park, it becomes like a regular activity. So every week you're doing it, right? So don't do it just for the sake of doing it, but do it more rigorously.
Yeah, the beauty of this activity is that you will get a lot of respect from the community. You'll probably meet a lot of interesting people. And so you're sort of building up your resume while you're also making your environment better. So I sort of like this idea because it's sort of doing well by doing good. So
yeah.
Anyway, business, I'm not sure how much you can still do, but maybe try selling something, buying something, building something, creating something. And it could be, I suppose, content creation like a podcast, or maybe you can still try to. So this would be a little bit more involved, but at the same time, I think it looks very good on resume if you actually tried to start your own business, even if it's some sort of lemonade stand, or maybe you sell some, like maybe there is a festival, just go to a store, buy a few cases of water and resell it at the event. I suppose that still counts. And then when it comes to sports, obviously you can join a sport club, and I, sort of put here 3 dots because you probably have a lot of them at school or in your city. But I'm also thinking that if you haven't done much sports and you want to have something on it, so maybe, and professors, tell me if you think it's a good idea, but I thought maybe join something a little bit more exotic. Like if you join a basketball or soccer club at this time, or hockey, you will not become good enough to impress a college and join their team. But some colleges have some kind of interesting, unusual teams. Like they may have like water polo or sailing or fencing.
Yeah, there's archery that I've heard
or
of.
archery.
Oh my God,
archery, I love it. Yeah.
So,
Yes. So these are the things that most people
Yeah.
do. And usually as long as you've had a few training sessions, you're like way above normal right there. And so I'm not sure what other sports might be like that, but what you can do is you can go to the website of the university that you like and then see what kind of clubs they have. Like, for example, maybe they have like some sort of, the ultimate frisbee, right? So like my university has it. You probably haven't even.
Yeah, Ironman School also has it, the ultimate frisbee.
I think
it's very popular in US, all these.
Yeah, so, or maybe they have something else that is, like very strange, like maybe hiking club or something like that. But in any case, it seems like I didn't spell it correct. Freezable, frisbee. I don't know how you spell it.
F-R-I-S, I guess.
F-R-I-S.
Yes.
Like this?
I-S, yes.
Yeah.
There you got it.
Okay, frisbee. Anyway, so, but yes, see what clubs are available at your school. Like, for example, let's take Georgetown University sports clubs. I bet there will be some interesting clubs there that, so let's see. I'm just curious. Probably they'll have the usual things, but so Georgetown.
There's a judo club, judo program.
There's a club directory. Yeah, if you click on the club directory.
Aquatics, I don't know what Yates is outside.
No, it says here below, just go down.
Just go down.
Under club sports.
This year?
Right here.
Yeah.
Next one.
Club directory. Okay, all right. So let's see what they have there. So badminton, baseball. Baseball probably requires, basketball requires a lot of training. So you probably, what is equestrian?
So that's the horses, and then you have to. So that's a very highly specialized thing.
Okay. Yeah, figure skating obviously requires a lot of training, but field hockey, lacrosse, I guess some people do it very professionally, but maybe it's not too late to, rock climbing. So rugby is a little, I played on the rugby team for the UT Dallas. So It doesn't require too much training, unlike soccer, but still, not for everyone, so to speak. But you might want to try squash, obviously, softball, tennis,
And running is an easy one to get in. It's an indoor,
running,
so you don't really need any specialized thing. Just get into that.
It looks like water polo, again, as long as you're a good swimmer. So this sport, I mean, obviously it requires a lot of training, but usually not many people. We've been doing some water polo with Maxim, and even though we are not any, good at it, but they always have not enough people, so they took us. So So you have all kinds of interesting options here. And then finally, I really like the idea of your skills, but you can sort of combine your skills with, I think that's how it's spelled. You can combine your skills with taking additional courses. And so you have Coursera, Udemy, Khan Academy, Prometheus, LinkedIn's Lynda. So they offer literally thousands of courses. From programming to writing to art to, just about anything, math, obviously. And so it may be a good idea to take some of these courses, both to sort of put them on the resume and show that signal that you do not only the courses that are required at school, but you do more. But at the same time, you can also strengthen your skills. So it's something that can serve you well. I noticed on Aryaman's resume, there was like HTML or, computer coding. So again, so it seems like that's a useful skill to have. And you kind of kill two birds with one stone. You impress the employers, or in this case, the university. But at the same time, you acquire a skill that you might actually need. So if it's something related to your future profession or writing in general, or maybe even public speaking. So that's something that will probably help you in your career, no matter what you do. So I'm not sure anything else we want to add to this list. It seems like it's quite a lot of choices right there, but anything else
One easy thing in case of volunteering, one easy thing, if you don't have anything on that list, it could be, just approach your local place of worship. They always thing or the other. So volunteer opportunities for kids, and it's a good way to reach out to the entire community. Because
by the way, yes, so here it doesn't have to be a kind of religion per se. For example, yesterday I reconnected with some old friends from Dallas. So I first wrote a story like a memory, and then I thought, what happened to them? Let me find them on Facebook. I did, and I reconnected. But anyway, they sort of started doing that through a church. So it was something like a place of worship. But what they do is they collect donated furniture and give it to the international students who arrive in the United States, in this case in Dallas, because apartments in the United States are rented out empty and students need furniture. And so that's how they helped me. When I arrived, I didn't have any furniture and money to buy one, to buy it. And so this organization called International Students Incorporated helped me with furniture, but they always needed volunteers to move that furniture, collect at the end of the year, distributed at the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year. And so you may have places of worship that do things that are not only related to religious activities, but maybe all kinds of
so many activities. Like they sometimes organize a blood bank, a blood donation camp or something. So
they may be doing a lot of social projects, a lot of maybe festivals, maybe some sort of charitable work, and they always need volunteers. So that might be actually a very interesting place to go to.
And that's an easy one. I mean, they're always looking for someone. So if you just approach, don't have anything on your list to show to the college admissions committee, just quickly approach your place of worship, and they will have something or the other.
Yes. So anything else? I think that's quite a long list here. So a good place to start. And obviously, you need to select only a couple of items here and focus on them, because you don't really have that much time left. So
then your creative side. So maybe you play a musical instrument and you're part of the school orchestra or school ensemble or something like that. Make sure you put that too.
Yeah.
Anything. I would just suggest that anything that you've done in the last two years or 3 years of your high school, just make a list of everything. That will give you an idea now, where do I stand and which ones are the most important, and you start putting that in your application.
Yeah.
You might just think that, oh, that was a small little thing, but then just make a list. Once you have that written down in front of you, then you can choose and sort and do whatever you want.
Yeah. So I put the link to this file in the comments. You can open it, it will be there, and you can keep it for yourself, or feel free to add more items to the list. We will share that with the next generation of the Prep for College students next year. So yes. All right, anything else we need to cover?
I think mostly we have covered everything. I would just say, I know we talked about political campaign and we talked about religion, but just don't go into specifics of what candidate were you supporting or what religion, right? So that might just be a negative thing
Yeah, you might want to
from
do
admissions perspective. Yeah, but just talk about the activity that you have done. I mean, so focus more on the activity, try to make sure that you're out from these two angles because these two angles could be tricky, religion and politics. So just I would, a word of caution.
Yeah. Focus on the mission and the purpose of the program, and not so much like, for example, the candidate could be in the United States, for example, Republican or Democrat. But if there is a campaign for something that you believe in, so focus on that campaign and perhaps not so much on, the party that organized it. Because again, people, at least in the United States, are very polarized. And so, same thing with religion. But yeah, depending on the circumstances, I guess, just, be cognizant that some of these things could be a little bit polarizing here. So.
And I like the idea of starting the X Culture Club. I mean, if you have been a part of X Culture, starting an X Culture Club will mean a lot. Because we do have colleges looking at this term and then they're talking to the candidate, asking them, what is X culture? What do you do? So those are your talking points. So anything that you write in your resume.
On that note, by the way, it may not be late to join this round. So you participated, you have experience. If you recruit a couple of your friends, we can still get them in just so that you have them in. And the club could be, you just meet every, let's say, 2 weeks or so and talk about the experience. You share your experience. They talk about their experience in global virtual team. You talk about international business. Maybe once in a while, you prepare some topic that you share with them, like communication online, or maybe conflicts in international teams. And so it's a little thing, but it counts. Most people don't do it. So why not? Yeah, it may not be too late. And your friends, I assume, are all looking to join, to apply to colleges this year. So if they do, for example, X-Culture this semester, for them, that's something they can put on the resume. So for you, that's something that you can put as an organizer of the club. So maybe not too late to do it. All right, so
putting X-Culture is on your resume. I mean, that's a very interesting thing because people might not have heard of what this X-Culture is. So it really stands out. Yeah. What is this culture? And then you talk about, so many organizations and so many students who take part. It's an international project. That's something really interesting. Yep. And will probably come up in your admissions interview or in something.
Yeah, right? Especially again, if you, in your specific case, you all completed X-Culture as part of your sort of, you already have done it. But now if you organize a club around it, so you now look like a club founder, like a manager, like a mentor. So as long as you can recruit a couple of people to be in the club, you all of a sudden look like not only a consumer of the program or participant in the program, but as an organizer of something new. So I think that might actually look pretty good. And again, so most people probably are looking for some clubs to join at this time, just like we put on the list here, sports clubs, volunteering. So they might want to do X-Culture. So we will be forming teams on October the 4th. And even though now we have the theory training, we can still get a few people in if you find some friends that want to participate.
And I remember in Ariman's case, in one of the admission interviews, got lots of interviews, like at a local coffee shop, you've got all these alumni who, so for Duke University, for so many other universities, so they'll call the candidate for an interview, like an informal interview over a cup of coffee. So in one of the interviews, X-Culture came up. And the person was very interested to know what is this X-Culture all about. And I think they ended up having at least a
good conversation, very good conversation. 5
to 7 minute discussion on what this X-Culture is. So
lots of anecdotes you can tell, oh, we had this one student on our team from this country, or there was this time zone problem, or there was, like whatever. So it's an interesting conversation starter. And most people have probably done. People have probably tried, using Zoom, especially now because of pandemic. So they'll have like, oh, tell me about that. Oh, let me tell you what happened to me. And so you have all of a sudden some connection right there.
Yeah. And makes you a global citizen right away. I mean, the fact that you've worked with different people from all parts of the globe, I think it's a very worthwhile project to talk about.
So Ahmed has raised his hand. I think he has a question.
Ahmed, go ahead.
So you have a question? I see your hand is raised.
Yeah. I have a quick question about the starting like an X-Culture club. Would it be like a school-related club, or would it be like related to X-Culture, actually like part of X-Culture, the actual X-Culture?
You can do it either way. So we've had students who organized clubs as part of the school. So literally there were several students from the school participating. And so what they did was they would just meet every 2 weeks in that specific case. And I believe they were a little bit younger. So I believe there was actually a parent also involved in that. And so they would just basically meet like after school, I think they had like maybe 5-7 meetings over the entire semester. So it must have been like every other week. And so they share the experiences, what's going on in your team, what kind of situations you encountered, what would you do? But they also organized, I think like at least once or twice, because they invited me once to be a guest speaker. And then also they organized a couple of topics that they covered. I think the students themselves or maybe that parent, but they talked about, like the best tools to use for online communication, for example. There was one on the technical side. And so you probably have already some experience, but you can say, okay, Zoom is best for this. And then Google Docs is best for that. And so in their case, they did get the permission of the school. So they said, can we meet at the school premises, whatever the time? And the principal was very happy about that because it's some activity. But you can also do it independent from the school. So that's perfectly fine too. And then if you want, we can give you the list of people from your country who participated this time. Maybe you want to do it virtually. And so, whatever country you come from, chances are we have a few students from there. And so they probably would be happy. And so we may even have, like, if it's a larger city, especially we have more participants like India, for example, I'm sure there would be like a dozen students from New Delhi, for example. So I'm not sure if they want to meet face to face or if they want to meet virtually, but there may be even some sort of localized component to it. So, so as long as you're trying, think you want to do it, we can work with you, give you some additional guidance instruments, maybe even some printable materials that you can distribute if you want to. So hook you up with a coaching program if you want to invite some coaches to be, as guest speakers. Shouldn't be too hard to do.
So like, should I contact you directly, or is there someone I should contact if I'm gonna start something like that?
Send me an email to me and I'll connect you then with the coaching program people, so they may be able to help you with more guidance. So yeah. But yeah, it should be relatively easy to do it. But the keywords here will be on your resume: international, business, collaboration. So all kind of the right words. And so you can say a lot about it if this issue comes up in the discussion, or maybe even write about it in your essay. If they ask what you did, you say, I'm all about, in the time when the, world is falling apart, connecting, international connection is very important. Business is very important. And so I kind of organize something around these lines. So I think most people will sympathize with that.
And I think it goes well with the current situation, the COVID-19 pandemic that we're in, Exactly. X-Culture is all about like virtual connections and all. So I think it's great.
Technology, yeah, absolutely. So it seems like we're almost out of time. So maybe we'll skip the one-on-one today and maybe do it next time instead. We want to be respectful of everyone's time, unless there are any other questions, students. But yes, I mean, at this time, as they say, success is a function of, sorry for being sort of blunt, but that's what the theory, says, the but time. And so what it means is that, it's not about the ideas you have, it's about you sitting on your, in your chair, instead of using the but word, sitting in your chair and actually doing it. So you have a plan. The plan is easy. The ideas are easy. What needs to be done is clear. Now the point is you need to get it done. And so anytime you are tempted to maybe, I don't know, play some more video games, or maybe, I don't know, go to some sort of a concert. Well, maybe instead in these 2 months, you focus and start a club or take a course or do something like that, because that's something that will determine your future life. And at this time, I would say every hour you spend in the next few months, invest in this, it'll probably come back with, like in the value of that hour is probably thousands and thousands of dollars over your career. Because once you sort of choose the path, like for example, the kids who did it right and went to Georgetown, statistically speaking, some of them may be successful, some may not be. But statistically speaking, they will probably be making 10, 20, 30, 40,000 more every year for the rest of their life, and probably much more towards the end of the career than kids who go to some sort of, some Southern Eastern, state university of, something. And so it seems like a little thing, but the difference could literally be those few hours extra that you invested this time. And so as it accumulates over your life, they call it a split equilibrium. So if you get into one of those better schools, not only you are more interesting people, but they probably will help you get a better job. You'll probably be making more money, but also you will be trusted with more, challenging projects. And so over time, that difference that now is just a few hours of work, it will be growing and growing and growing and growing. And over time, they will be in a whole different league, like completely, unattainable to those who just went to some A college. And so the difference could be literally at this time, investing a few hours and starting a debate club or a business club or an X-Culture club. And so that's literally could be, who gets the job and who doesn't, because you can be right there, but not quite. And those 2 extra hours of work could have made that difference. So you want to take very carefully the September and October, because you don't really have much. You have like 2 months, right? So you don't really have much time at all. So
I think some of them are due in October itself. So make sure that you know exactly when your application is due. And Maxim, I know you asked this question. So I would just say put all of your things together instead of right now sorting it out, which one is more important than the others. I would just say put all the extracurricular activities as a list together and then try writing something about each one of them. And then if you get confused, we are here to help you out. But please put everything that you have on the list. And this applies to everyone. So Ahmed, Maxim, and I think I could see Aiza, Abhishek, and Fernando. I would just say, start making your resume right away. Put everything on the list of your extracurricular activities, whatever you have done, volunteer. Like, I'm so glad that Dr. Taris just shared that list with you. So add items to that list. Put something in terms of what you have achieved so far. Was it a competition that you attended, or you just did it as a part of your social, community activity? And then once you are confused after that, we are here to help you out. So we will definitely make sure that you get the right items on that list. So try to make it academic, non-academic, anything of the area of your interest, anything which is mundane, but do something, make that list, because that's going to be very helpful. That actually shows you as a well-rounded individual. And that's what the holistic process, the colleges talk about holistic process all the time. So even though a perfect score person may not get into, the Ivy Leagues or whatever, just because they may not have done these community-based extracurricular activities. So do that, put your interest in mind, playing violin, playing cello, playing any musical instrument, all of that definitely helps. So make that list, start making that list. And if you get confused as to what to add, what not to add, once you have the list, then we are here to help you out. Yeah. So I think I like the idea of Dr. Taris saying that we'll have a one-on-one next time, and then we can actually do this.
Yeah, because good grades is not always enough.
Yes, right. Of course. Yeah. Exactly, that's true.
Well, thank you so much, professors. Thank you so much, students watching here. So good luck, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye, take care.